When I arrived in Japan, there was one thing I really wanted to buy. My very first Nintendo Switch 2. The problem? Almost every store was sold out. Now you might be wondering, why didn't you just buy a Switch 2 back home? Because it's much cheaper if I do it in Japan. Did you know there were actually two versions of the Nintendo Switch 2? There is one global version, and then there's the Japanese version, which is only sold in Japan, of course, but with a much lower price tag. Knowing all of this, I made my way to the most popular Japanese tech stores in Tokyo. What I didn't know is that my plans for my stay in Tokyo are gonna change drastically in the next few days. The reason for that is an information I got from visiting these big stores. They had big labels on the Nintendo Switch 2 shelves which said you have to be a Japanese citizen with a Japanese credit card to be able to buy a new console from these big official stores. I went to multiple stores on various days, but every single one of them had these terms of conditions, so I had no chance in buying a new Switch in Japan. My last hope and only chance left was to buy one used, but with these market conditions at the time, it was basically impossible to get one. So I made it my goal to go to as many book off stores and hard off stores as I can get in that time. If you didn't know, hard off and book off are those kind of stores that sell used stuff with a discounted price, and people bring used stuff there, so it is possible to find a Switch 2 there. Following that, I made a big game plan for the next day. I browsed through as many book offs as I could find on Google Maps and created a route between them using the convenient trains and buses in Tokyo. So join me on my journey through the outer edge of Tokyo on the hunt for a cheap Nintendo Switch 2. So the first book of bazaar I chose to go to was a bit on the outer edge of Tokyo. That's because I thought maybe it's a higher chance to find good deals at the outer edge of Tokyo because there's less competition. Because the area is getting less dense around the edge of Tokyo, I had to walk a little bit from my train station to get there, but I got some shots for you, so enjoy the views. Arriving at the store, I realized how big it really was. Like, it had 4 levels and its own parking garage. And besides that, the electronics area was really big and you got various items to choose from. But unfortunately, I did not find a Nintendo Switch 2 there. So I just looked around, and while doing that, I found a whole section just for Lego. And you can see every single one of these Lego figurines are in the clear case, and each of one had its own price, so you could potentially buy whatever figurine you want. That's really cool in my opinion. After seeing everything I wanted to see, I made my way to the bus station and took the bus to the next store on my plan. Even though Akihabara is not really on the edge of Tokyo, I figured while being the electronics part of Tokyo, I would just look if I maybe find a Switch 2 because there's just so much different stuff on the market. But yeah, as you can see, there was a sign, and the sign you would pretty much find in every store. So I just looked around a little bit what I can find else. And yeah, see by yourself. On the next day I got to this Book of Plus store because it was also on the outer edge of Tokyo and it was located near my place I was staying at for the time. If you're wondering why I also filmed so many headphones in the shelves, I was also on the lookout for cheap headphones at the time, but that wasn't as important as the Nintendo Switch 2 because this wasn't like a huge price difference to my hometown. This store actually had a nice variety of books and games and even hardware to choose from, but unfortunately no Nintendo Switch 2 again, so I just looked around and found this huge pile of Nintendo DS's and 3DS's probably, but yeah, it's really crazy how many of these are in all of these book-offs. Arriving at the last store for the day, it was a book-off that wasn't even that big compared to the other stores I went to that day, but turning out it would be my favorite one so far. The obvious reason for that was I finally found the Nintendo Switch 2 I was looking for, sitting on that shelf in the book-off in Tokyo, Japan, and it was free to buy for everyone. No restrictions, no anything, you could just pick it up. So that's what I did. After just looking around a bit more, I asked an employee to open that case for me, and yeah, then I actually bought it. So here you can see how it went. Because I was so excited, I actually forgot to film horizontally. So yeah, that's why the format is like that. At the counter she started using her phone as a translator, so she basically wanted to tell me that the Switch 2 was used in a used condition and the code for Mario Kart World at the time was already redeemed, but that was no further problem for me at the time. Besides that, I actually saved another 4,500 yen because of the tax-free bonus the tourists get in Japan. So yeah. After more than a week of searching for a Nintendo Switch 2 all across Tokyo, Japan, I finally found one at this last book-off. I think my timing couldn't have been much better because it looked like it had only just been put on display. I ended up paying around 45,000 yen, which is about 250 euros. That was actually even cheaper than I expected. So in the end I managed to get a Japanese Nintendo Switch 2 for almost half the price of the global version. But before I could finally relax, there was still one thing left to find out. Was everything actually inside the box? And more importantly, did it even work? So I actually recorded this part in German, so you would just hear me yapping in German, and I'm sure most of you don't understand that language, so I'm just gonna voice over it and it will be fine. Basically I was yapping about the size of the box and that I expected it to be a little bit bigger, but I was surprised how small it actually was, because the box is pretty much as large as the Switch tablet, right? So it just would fit in, and yeah, here I actually saw it the first time in person. At that point I still was really cautious about scratches in the screens or imperfections in the console itself, because it was such a mystery why someone would bring this back to the store like after 1 week of buying the Switch. But as you can see here, the screen looked really good. It actually looked like brand new. So yeah, it's still a mystery to me what happened to this Switch, but yeah. After seeing that even the Joy-Cons weren't really used, I was a bit more relaxed about the situation, because like this Switch hasn't been in any hands more than 5 minutes. And then the moment came where I decided to turn on the Switch the first time. As you can see, it worked. I mean, so far it worked all pretty fine. The introduction and all of that was obviously in Japanese, so sometimes I had to use a translator to get to the next step. Nintendo Switch 2 war Also, important note for everyone who thinks about buying their Japanese version of the Switch, you actually have to switch your account region to Japan so you can register your account on your Switch, otherwise it just won't work. By the way, do you guys remember when the lady at the counter in the store said that the code of Mario Kart World was already redeemed? Well, it wasn't. I opened up the store later and I found out that it was still active and I could use it, so I also got a free Mario Kart World copy for my Switch too. That's an extra 80 euros I saved up by just being lucky that the code isn't redeemed yet. So I hope you enjoyed my adventure of getting probably the cheapest new Nintendo Switch 2 ever. If you want to see more videos like that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. We will see each other again on the next big adventure.